Lee, ready to great. Okay, Danick Lalonde, Area Technical Manager of H.B. Fuller and Tech Construction Products. Danick joined the H.B. Fuller Tech team in 2022 as an Area Technical Manager for the Canadian region. He started his professional career in IT, later earning his MBA in 2011. He then moved into sales management from there. By 2017, he came to the construction industry, which has been a long-time interest of his, and worked for multiple tool manufacturers, overseeing sales, product training, and technical support. Danick has a special passion for improving the industry through training and product support, and is constantly searching for ways to improve both hands-on and technical presentations to improve how installers, or folks that we would call boots on the ground, interact with their products that they use every day and the standards that they need to meet. I guess, Danick, you and us at NFCA are cut from the same cloth. So with that said, I'll hand it over to you and look forward to this.
All right, thanks for the presentation. Hi, everyone. As Chris mentioned, I'm with Tech, which is a division, if you will, of H.B. Fuller. So I'll get right into it here. Designed this presentation to talk about floor covering success and also reiterate or introduce how manufacturers are here to help, here to stand by you within the project, before and after, during, and kind of the best practices, if you will, or the do's and don'ts of working with the systems or systems warranties in a floor covering project. So this comes at no surprise. Chris has mentioned it many times in presentations over, that every year in North America, billions of dollars of floor failures happen, which also could equate to billions of dollars in claims are denied. And we'll talk about why this is the case and how this works out. So these are kind of the top 3 reasons why floor failures happens or claims are denied. Number 1, incorrect product use, using products that are not compatible together, not using the correct tools to install, or not doing the correct surface preparation. That usually falls into that bucket. Secondary to that, or primary to that, I should say, moisture. Moisture is a big issue when it comes to installing floor coverings. Certainly when we're looking at non-permeable floor coverings or floor coverings that can't breathe, such as vinyl, rubber, flooring, or whatnot. Moisture can affect the performance of this flooring and then can cause failure. Incompatible products used. We've seen this many times where we use 5 different products or from 5 different manufacturers into one system. We'll call it the flooring sandwich, if you will. And some of these products do not react well together, and therefore causing failure. An example, using a self-leveling underlayment product from manufacturer A, and then using a primer underneath that on the concrete from another manufacturer because we had left over from the job before. It doesn't mean it's going to work. It doesn't mean it's going to fail, but chances are that could be some compatibility issue at that point.
I got to echo that, Danick. I can't tell you how many manufacturers who produce product are switching to or demanding that a system be used. So, one flooring type, one adhesive type, and together they will form a strong warranty. But if you have one product type and then any universal adhesive that says it can adhere to that product or that product type can be very problematic. And we're seeing more of a shift like that these days.
Yeah, and the point of going through this, we'll talk about system warranties, how they react together as well, and you've got it bang on. I mean, I've seen some failures where a job was a self-leveling job was done, and then 3 different brands of self-levelers were mixed together, or 2 different brands, I think, in that one. And in essence, we may believe that it will work, but not all products are created equally.
Yeah.
Or with the same base materials. So on that note, what types of warranties are available for manufacturers? So there's 2 major buckets for warranties when it comes to manufacturers. You'll get limited product warranties and limited system warranties, or system limited warranties. The word changed around a little bit, but basically you've got a product warranty and then a system warranty. So when it comes to a product warranty, it typically only covers the product purchased. It does not cover any labor, flooring material, or any other remediation than just replacing the actual faulty product or reimbursing that product. These product warranties will vary in time. Popular product warranties usually vary from 1 to 5 years, dependent on the manufacturer or the tier of the product used. Some manufacturers will go up to a lifetime warranty on a single product, but typically it will range within the 1 to 5 year period. Sometimes they'll creep over the 10, 15, 25 years, and that's it. When it comes to system limited warranties, it's a bit more of comprehensive coverage on the warranty. So in this case here, you see surface preparation, adhesive, and the flooring material. I could have added another icon. I could have added the labor as well. A full system warranty will typically cover all products used, plus the flooring material product used on top of them, and also the labor that was used up to install these products.
A great way to avoid the finger pointing game if you do get into trouble.
It does. When you choose and select products from a single source, it's there's no potential of a manufacturer blaming another manufacturer for a problem, or potentially blaming incompatibilities, which is a case. But as you can imagine, when we look at our product line, they've always they've been tested together in lab and on site to assure that we have full product compatibility. So how do we get a system warranty? Well, number one, we need to understand the work that needs to be done. We need to understand if we need moisture mitigation, so we need to have the proper testing done for that. We need to understand how flat the floor needs to be based on the flooring manufacturer's recommendation, or based on other recommendations by the NFCA, or based on recommendations in global. Once we understand the scope of work, once we understand what needs to be done, we need to work with the manufacturer to obtain the required specifications. So this is when you involve us, the manufacturer. You call us up, you get us on site, or you get us in a meeting such like this, and sort of understand what needs to be done so that we can put forward a system that would make sense for the installation. Once we know all this, we do put forward that system. We can look at current system warranties that are available with our products. We do have them all posted on our website. Based on those warranties, maybe it fits into the job build. But sometimes on large projects, when there's multiple thousands of square feet of flooring, 50,000 square foot job, maybe it would make sense to look at building a project specific warranty, which would contain more information, like the address of the building and a little bit more of the scope of the work to be done.
So what we find with our quality assurance program is because consultants, architects will specify products in advance of construction getting underway, or certainly of the floor covering installation coming onto the schedule for the constructor. It's very useful for us to have meetings like this prior to installation and invite the manufacturer to the table to confirm everything that was specified and considered for installation is still correct. Maybe there's something's changed along the way and no one's paid attention to it, and now you're just about to use the wrong adhesive with the wrong vinyl product. It can spell disaster in a moment. So with quality assurance programs, we help everybody on the construction group agree that yes, these products are the best way to move forward.
Exactly. So like regular product warranties, system warranties will have defined length and periods varying from 1 year to a lifetime. Typically, system warranties will fall more onto the 5+ years, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. And again, it always depends on the manufacturer, depends on the application of the products and what type of products are actually being used. Are they top tier products? Are they entry-level products? And this typically defines the actual lifespan of the warranty. So conditions and requirements that we need to follow to make sure that the warranty that was put forward, or the system that was put forward for say will fall into and will be warrantyable from the manufacturer. Well, number one, first and foremost, we got to follow the manufacturer's instructions and guidelines. We've worked hard to put together a system or flooring sandwich, as some will call it. But let's make sure we follow all instructions and guidelines that were put forward. Obviously, we need to follow building codes, whether they're national, local, provincial codes. We need to have all of those in line, that we adhere to them. And following industry standards. NFCA puts forward very good standards of installation, a very comprehensive list of standards. You follow the ASTM standards when it requires for testing of sort, or for floor flatness. There may be some local CSA or ISO standards that needs to be followed. So we need to make sure that all of those are put forward and put in line, so that we can understand how all this falls together.
Danick, got a question for you. This on the fly here. M. McConchy has asked, from the manufacturer's page, do they offer a systems submittal package for architects and GCs to review and use as alternate or complete package submissions?
Yes. Most manufacturers on their website, you'll be able to find pre-written specs for submittals. All manufacturers do have employees available, and we'll share our contact information at the end of the presentation. I don't know if my colleague is online, but James, my colleague, deals with architectural specs, and this is something we're working hard on to make sure that the correct specs are put in place and at the architectural side.
Question again, a further comment from M. McConchy. I haven't seen a full package before, usually just individual products.
Yeah, typically it will be individual products. If a full package is needed, on our side or any other manufacturer, reach out to here to myself or to James. The contacts will be supplied. I'm sure that we could put something together, and my colleagues in the industry from different manufacturers would be able to put something together that's a little more comprehensive once we understand what the needs are.
Yeah, you can't stop both from happening. There's always going to be, individual products pitched against each other, or brought together, I should say, and then there's going to be the systems. At least with you and your group, you acknowledge systems exist. You can help with that that approach. So that's really good.
So as warranties, obviously there would be some exclusions in warranties, typical warranties, and this is talking about the industry as a whole. Typical warranties would exclude damages caused by accidents, like we have a little icon here of a fire. That goes without saying. Improper maintenance. So we've got this system in place, we've got this flooring in place. Maybe acidic cleaners can be very dangerous for the flooring. Maybe chemical cleaners could seep through the flooring and some edges and damage the substrate underneath. So we need to understand the maintenance procedures, and manufacturers as a whole, all manufacturers will have prescribed maintenance procedures that should be implemented, if you will, at that level. And again, excessive moisture, hydrostatic pressure, if we're installing over damp, wet concrete and the flooring is affected by that, this would be exclusions if we did not do any moisture remediation prior to the installation. Other exclusions could include extreme environmental conditions. This is named differently on most warranties. It could also be called act of gods, uncontrollable acts. You think of hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and such disastrous conditions. And also exclusions would include improper installation and use of product, which should not be an issue if the full system is followed and if we take advantage of all training and literature available.
So I forgot the right notch trowel cannot fall into the act of God category.
No, exactly. So typical remedies for system warranties. So they vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. Remedies could be repaired to the affected area. So if a product is proven defective, all steps were followed, the installation was done correctly, the system has failed due to an unfortunate manufacturing defect or whatnot. So it could include, the remedies could include the repairs to the actual affected area. It could include a reimbursement of materials and labor. And then we need to understand this when we work with the manufacturer. Where is the value put on this reimbursement or on the repairs? Is the manufacturer going to reimburse or provide repairs to the cost of the installation date? So, for example, this is a 25-year warranty. The job was done in 2000, and then in 2023, we would put a claim today. Are we being reimbursed and are we being compensated for labor at the value of the 2000 numbers? Or are we being reimbursed, or are we being paid out to the value of the 2023 numbers? And this varies. It's all in the warranty print. This will be stated in the warranty print. Either they will call out at date of installation or at date of failure. So that's one thing to be very mindful about. Or they could also offer replacement of product and reimbursement of labor. So it varies from manufacturer to manufacturer and product warranties. But it's something to be very mindful of when we get this system together, is to understand, okay, what do we need to use? How does it work? And what are the remedies at the end of the, if a claim has to be put through? Now, as part of best practices, I always recommend installers, building owners, GCs, or whoever's involved in the meeting to document your work. Probably a very simple way to make sure that we have everything in line in the event of a failure. We have everything readily available, or at least archived somewhere that we can actually get this. In this digital technology day and age, it's easy to store massive amounts of paperwork onto a digital drive and have them available. One item that is almost always expected from manufacturers by the users when a warranty claim is called out is to have available receipts, so that we can investigate the products used, the amount of products used, and the date of purchase on that. So this should be archived. Any related communications between the parties involved. I mean, we typically archive emails, for 7 years, 20 years, or whatever your archival system is. But they should be kept. We should keep these on hand in the event that somebody is calling a claim. It's always good to go back and verify what was actually said in writing. And pictures, videos should be taken before, during, and after work is performed. I'm sounding like I'm asking for a little too much, and it's not an ask as much as it is a best practice, if you will. I mean, there's some companies out there that specialize in video documenting full builds, to the effect that if a building owner or a building manager wants to know what's behind a certain wall in the cafeteria for plumbing, they could go to the blueprints and click on that wall and see all the layers of the installation. That's a little extreme, but that's actually very useful to manage a building. But as far as doing work and working towards a full system warranty, taking pictures of videos during the installations before and after could go a long way in speeding up the investigation or speeding up the conversation for any claims.
And documenting testing, like if you're going to do moisture testing, document it clearly, that you have, as a professional trade or a professional constructor, done your due diligence to determine whether for example, in this case, the concrete slab is dry or not.
Yeah,
and if you prove it to be dry, and you keep good records, CYA, if you know what I mean, and the moisture levels change 6 months down the road and blows the floor off the slab, that swings back to the homeowner or the building owner as part of the responsibility and risk of owning a building.
Exactly. And actually on this next slide, that's the RH tests were all there. But you bring up a very good point, because that is a question I ask a lot when doing site visits, warranty claims, or even looking at new installations. I do ask for RH tests or MVER tests. I do ask for the reports, and typically a third-party company would do that. Handful of times in the last few months, I've asked for RH tests for pre-installation, and I'm looked at like they don't exist, right? So it is good to keep those, and I think it's one of the biggest things that we look for. Certainly in a flooring failure that looks like it will be moisture will be the culprit.
Danick, let me ask you a question about the RH in situ drill test and the MVER test.
Yeah.
In your installation guidelines, if you can recall them, sorry to put you on the spot, but I see a lot of manufacturers just put, you got to take an MVER test, or a calcium chloride test is the other way to describe that test.
Yeah.
They do not mention that you must take that MVER or calcium chloride test in accordance with ASTM F1869, which tells you how to execute that test if you're going to get meaningful results. So if the manufacturer's loosey-goosey with their language in their installation guidelines and just says you need to take the test, you essentially could go out, buy one test from the local distributor who supplies those tests, place it in the middle of your 10,000 square foot space, and you have met the manufacturer's instructions. You've followed them.
So in our product data sheets and guidelines, we do call out specific RH tests and MVER tests. Now you put me on the spot, and I hope they're on all of the guidelines. And now you do mention
the ASTM though.
Yeah,
because it's a huge difference. I mean, if you're just going to do one test, it's meaningless.
And you know, if I look at ASTM 2170, you know, for RH testing, it will call out for 3 test areas in the first 1,000 square feet, and then 1 per 1,000 square feet. And then that report, once built by the testing company, will have all the points of reference where these tests were made and what the readings were at that time. And to me, this is a complete test, because you're looking at a slab of concrete, you know, a 10,000 square foot slab of concrete. Well, half of it may be high in moisture and the other half may be dry, and the building may be 50 years old, right? So it doesn't mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think you said it best, Chris. Every slab of concrete should be deemed wet until proven dry. And you know, that's something we look at when we're going through warranty claims. Another, yeah.
Sorry, the bill is interesting, but the bill that I was talking to the other day made a comment while we were talking about the testing requirements. He said, "We've never had to do this before. Why are we seeing this in the specification?" And my answer was, well, it's because the NFCA specification is in your documents, so we require it. All we're doing is pointing out that the manufacturer requires it. And you know, one of the technical reasons is that adhesives today are very different from the way they were, say, 30 years ago.
Yeah, 30 years ago, we had very toxic adhesives that were, you know, I'm thinking to the cutback adhesives that were, in essence, once troweled, it became a moisture vapor barrier on its own because of the chemical contents of that adhesive, or because of the composure of that adhesive. Fast forward to today, when we're, you know, asking to build lead projects, when we're asking, you know, we want our crews to work with cleaner products, less invasive products for the health. Then a lot of water-based products are coming to the surface now that do not have that moisture mitigation built in. And this is why the industry is changing on that side. So keeping on the document your work process, having a record of the room and substrate temperature before, during, and after installation. And we'll talk about this in a few slides, but as we know, a lot of the products we install, or most of the products we install, are sensitive to temperature changes. They expand, they contract, they may need to be acclimatized. And the adhesives that are used, or the products that are used in the building, I'll take self-leveling underlayment, for example. Well, we can't install this when it's, you know, -10 in the building, or when it's below 4 degrees, or when it's below 20 degrees. So I'm just shooting numbers here, but there is requirements for temperature application, temperature of substrate, and room temperature. Knowing that there are requirements, it's nice to have a readout. Now, the good news is when HVAC is turned on into a building, and nowadays most of them are smart HVAC systems, and we'll have the ability to provide reports. We can always bring thermometers on site and moisture readers on site, and document those on a daily, so that we understand, A, that we're installing today and the temperatures are okay, and then let's prove it, and let's just make sure we document that.
And the temperatures, I should say, are reasonable. The ranges of temperature and the range of acceptable relative humidity, for example, are reasonable and easily obtainable if you focus your efforts and know if you know you have to do it and you're prepared to do it, you can do it. We've seen it even in Manitoba, where it gets freezing cold and then super humid and hot during the summer. It's the buildings we've worked with have been able to be stable through those wild changes in conditions.
And that's due to the commitment by the GC to utilize data loggers, and it's 24/7 readings, and they give you a weekly hash out, or a copy of what the temperatures were in every area of the building. So it's phenomenal. It's really good. Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's perfect. And you know, when we're talking about the industry evolving, stuff like this is making everybody's work a lot easier, and you know, setting us up for success. Keeping on the documenting your work side, it's not a bad idea to keep a log of the products, lot numbers of the products that are being used. Every product that we manufacture and every product that my competitors or my industry colleagues, I should say, manufacture, come printed on the bag with the lot number or on the pail. Keeping note of those lot numbers, we're getting, I'd say, 10 pallets in the self-leveler. Out of those, 10 pallets, there's 1 or 2 lot numbers. Let's just take note of them. Let's understand which one we use and take note of them, so that if something does happen, or if something does go wrong, whether it's now or later, at least we know which lots were used. And as a manufacturer with those lot numbers, I can pull out a lot of information on the product. It will give me data manufacturing, obviously, but it'll also give me if any other similar claims have came up on that lot number, or even if we have retains of that lot number and they're still within usable specs, we can run tests in lab on those retains to find out or try to reproduce the problems. And that's proven to be very successful when we're trying to analyze what's been wrong, right?
Danick, are you recommending data loggers where you can?
What do you mean?
Data logger, site metric devices that basically record site metrics automatically and then forward them by Wi-Fi to someone's desktop where they can monitor them from remote sources or even on site in the site trailer, for example.
I would never discourage gathering data, and if they are available and are used. I mean, there's no such thing as having too much information. So basically, all the information we can gather would be great, and that's points a little to the next one as well. Keep a log of the job progress by date from start to finish. Let's say we're doing a 3-week job for flooring. Week 1 was all surface preparation. Week 2 was finishing up that surface prep, and week 3 we're installing, or maybe it's mixed a little differently. Keeping a log of when stuff was done will help match it to temperatures, match it to extreme environmental conditions, if there were any. Will help match it to anything during the progress, and can prove to be helpful. And having all this information on a claim process or on an investigation process, it just speeds it all up.
For those builders or constructors that are on the call, if you are interested in data logger technology, call us here at NFCA. We'll recommend a few types of device that we've seen other builders use to great effect. Like now, like if you're in a 100,000 square foot space and you need relative humidity and temperature between, temperature would be somewhere between 16 and 29 degrees Celsius and relative humidity somewhere between 35 and 55%. Well, how do you know that if you're sitting in the site trailer? Now with a data logger, you can tell if someone's been on the far east wing of the project and left the door open because a delivery took place, because all the metrics that come through that data logger device will suddenly drop down to whatever the outside temperature is. And that saves you significant problems. We've seen a lot of success with those devices. So feel free to call us.
Yeah, and that's obviously a very good thing. I mean, I've seen jobs where failures were just limited to a certain portion of an area. And then if there's that outside door after, at least it starts building a picture of what actually went on, right?
Yeah.
Transfer of warranty. This is something that's good to know. I can tell you based on my research that most warranties are not transferable. So that's something that's good to know offhand before all this work starts, is knowing if the building does get sold within that term of the warranty for the flooring application, what happens to the warranty. In a lot of cases, it wouldn't carry over the warranty, but it's good to know offhand. And the warranty start date. Now, we all have our assumption of what the actual warranty start date is or should be. In reality, a system warranty start date will typically start in most cases either when the product was purchased or when the product was installed. Work is completed, can happen in some cases, but the most cases I've seen is on purchase date or on installation date, and the most popular one would be on purchase date. So it's something to know. If I'm dealing with a 5-year system warranty and substantial completion of the building, or the handover of the building happens a year after the flooring was installed because of some delays or whatnot, then that 5-year warranty just became a 4-year warranty. So that's something that's good to know ahead of time. Maybe we can work with the manufacturer for a longer system warranty to kind of encapsulate that time to make sure that we get the most out of the warranty. Now, if we're dealing with a lifetime warranty, obviously there's no repercussions. And if we're dealing with a 25-year warranty, well, 25 years plus or minus 6 months does not make a huge difference. But it's also, it's good to know all this before we jump in and make decisions.
I think typically architecturally, the preference is always to utilize the substantial completion date
Yep.
as the marker for all warranties, because then it's simplified. But you are right, on a large project, you could have a year and a half installed before substantial performance is even done.
Yeah, and as a manufacturer, and do a blanket rule of substantial completion could put a manufacturer, I would say, at risk, or it could put a manufacturer in an awkward position where a building could be delayed 2, 3, 4 years. I've seen buildings, start going up and the project dies for years because of
True.
lack of funding or bylaws or permits or whatnot. And then if a flooring is left in that building for 5 years with no significant HVAC running, then obviously that puts everybody at risk for failure, right? So, but it's a good question to ask, and it's a thing to know. And it's if we cannot get a start date as substantial completion, how can we tailor that warranty to make sure that we cover all of our areas?
Good things to ask at the pre-construction meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
These are questions I love answering before, not after, right?
100%. Yep.
You just got to add one thing, Danick.
Yep.
Don't install the floor and then expect to get don't install the floor if it's got a problem going together. Don't keep blindly going forward. Install a problem essentially, and then ask for your money back.
Yep.
Just
100%.
What's the saying? Don't eat the meal and then refuse to pay, or something like that.
Yeah, that was good.
Going on to claim procedures. So we've installed the flooring, the building's been up. We notice a failure. So obviously we're going to contact the manufacturer and put in a claim for the failure. How does this work? Well, most manufacturers will need to get something in writing within 15 to 30 days of finding the problem. And this is all detailed in the warranty. They'll typically be in the same section called claim procedures or something of that liking. So 15 to 30 days. I've seen as long as you can notify us as long as the warranty is still valid. But for the most part, most manufacturers will aim at 15 to 30 days to be notified of the claim. Because if the flooring failure happens, or what failure happens can be prevented from expanding to different locations, whether it is a product failure or an installation failure, at this point, the manufacturer can help. And if it's an installation or a product failure, at least we can stop it from expanding to other locations, right? How does it need to be communicated? I mentioned that, typically in writing. Most will say mail us a letter at. Emails are still acceptable, but obviously just a phone call sometimes does not leave a lot of written trail, if you will. What information will need to be provided? Pictures of the failure is typically the first ask, with receipts of products. And as I mentioned earlier, when we document all that, it's a non-issue. Receipt could be a form of a purchase order or any traces between the purchase of the product to the supplier of the product. Don'ts when working with system warranties. There's stuff we should not be doing. Substitutions. So we worked hard. We did a site visit. We understand what needed to be done. We've selected 5 products, from moisture mitigation to self-leveler to adhesive or patching products or whatnot. We've selected multiple products, and comes to installation day, and we find that one of the products is could be substituted with a similar product from a different manufacturer for, and then we can save 50 cents per square foot. Well, we go ahead and do that. We just voided the entire system warranty. Number one, we don't know if they're compatible. We don't know how they will react altogether. And again, the idea of a system warranty is to deal with a single manufacturer on that installation.
It must be signed off by the consultant.
Exactly.
Like they say, if it's not written down in construction, it didn't happen.
Yeah, for sure. Don't skip a step in the installation procedures. All of this have been put together, and we get to job site, we've identified that we need moisture mitigation, but we somehow don't want it in the scope anymore due to cost, due to whatever time of installation. If we skip a step, we break that system, so don't skip a step. And the last one here, I love, don't start the project without full knowledge and understanding of the warranty, the instruction of installation, and the data sheets. If it's a product we've never used, or even if it's a product we know how to use, it doesn't hurt to go back to the installation instructions, making sure we're doing it right, making sure we're putting all the chances on our side for success. Keep on setting up for success. Ask questions. If a procedure, product, instruction is unclear, call us, call the manufacturer, call the reseller. Let's get on the phone and let's discuss this. Let's get on site and let's discuss this. Training. Most manufacturers are more than happy to go on site to job starts, to projects, to do training, to help users and installers how to use the product. Maybe it's as simple as troweling methods and rollback methods on a certain product. So we're here to help on that. I'd rather come in with coffee and donuts and train a crew than come in with tools and do forensics on why something failed, right? Stop. If something doesn't feel wrong or look right, stop the job and contact us. Great example of this, I'm used to mixing self-leveler, and I'm mixing the self-leveler right now, and I've been using the same product for years, but this batch does not seem right. It's too liquidy or it's too thick, and it's not what I'm used to. Just don't go ahead and pour that product on the slab. Just call the manufacturer and have that conversation. Has there been a change in the make of the product? Is it potentially a bad product? Is it, let's say I'm using a glue and it seems more liquid than usual. Did it freeze? Did it get broken? Did it get damaged by a freeze-thaw cycle? Let's find out before we use something. If it doesn't feel right, don't use it. During cold weather, are all products freeze-thaw stable? Does temperature affect the product? This is something that we can plan for. If we're doing a winter build, we know that storage of products, maybe we can't put 3 pallets of adhesive in a sea can outside. Maybe they can't go outside because of freeze-thaw stability. And same goes with very hot weather. Maybe we can't be installing such adhesive when it's 40 degrees Celsius in a room, which it shouldn't be. The building should be climatized. But it's stuff that is important to know that. And these are easy conversations to have before, a little harder to have after failures, right? And does any of the product need to be acclimatized? So, I'll go back to vinyl planks, luxury vinyl planks. They need to typically, or even hardwood floors, let's say, or most products, they need to be acclimatized to where they're going to be installed. Typically, manufacturers of flooring will ask for 48 to 72 hours free installation that the product are actually in the room where they will be installed in the area. And maybe they'll say that they need to be taken off the pallet for ventilation purposes and re-put in a different order. That's something we need to know ahead of time so we can plan for that and get the work scoped accordingly.
Just to drive that point home, Danick, 3 temperatures are what you're concerned with: air temperature or room temperature, slab surface temperature, and product temperature. And if you've got those 3 things all within, say, 5 to 10 degrees of each other, you're not going to get any problems. You're not going to get movement.
Exactly, 100%. And expansion and contraction is very real in flooring, as any other materials we install, but sometimes it's way more noticeable in flooring than some crown molding on top of a 14-foot ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Set up for success. Know the trowel sizes that need to be used. If we're installing a glue and adhesive and it's calling for 1/16 square notch by 1/16 by 1/16, understand that that's what you need to use, and know how frequently you have to replace the trowel. If I keep rubbing a metal trowel on concrete, my 1/16-inch notches will start getting a lot shorter. So some manufacturers will say that we recommend a new trowel for every bucket used, because one bucket will cover close to 1,000 square foot or 750 square foot. But it's good to know that beforehand so that A, we can price the installation accordingly based on tools and products used, but B, we can have the right amount of trowels available on site for installation. When applying a roll-on product, what type of roller should be used? Do I need to trowel first and then back roll? If I back roll, do I need to get my my roller filled up with products before I start back rolling, so I don't remove too much product, or I don't remove any product. Another one would be, are there new innovative tools that can be used to speed up the process? And I'm looking here at a paint spray gun. Well, could a spray gun be used for certain applications for certain products? Take, for example, we have a waterproofing membrane that you can actually apply with a spray gun. Well, perfect. If it's a large project, maybe that would make sense. But, you know, it's good to know this offhand. And this is why these pre-installation meetings are so important, because we can tailor it to the job site. What tools would be needed to prepare the substrate? Can I grind it down? Do I need to do shot blasting? Do I need to do scarifying? So these are things to know ahead of time. And I'm looking at, substrates, certainly when we're doing renovations. Can we use chemicals to clean the substrate? In most cases, no. The answer will be no, because chemicals will seep into the concrete and create a bond inhibitor and prevent any other products to bond on top of the slab. Do we need to do any abatement? Do we have any old cutback asbestos adhesive that we need to remove, or can we install over top of them? Can they be encapsulated? Now, the manufacturer will work with you on that, but also we have to work with local codes to make sure that what we're doing is within spec of what's acceptable.
Just to go back to the second point there, just because we went through this recently, beware oil-based sweeping compounds. If you're spreading those on concrete and you're going to glue some floor covering down to it, those sweeping compounds will become a bond breaker to the adhesive.
Yes, and if you want to see a good visual example of that, in the back of any shop where there's major big warehouses or any warehouse and concrete is bare, typically it looks shiny, and it's probably never been sealed. But sweeping compounds have been used there potentially for decades, and you put a water droplet onto it to check your concrete porosity, and it just beads up on top of the concrete. So in that case, there's nothing that can be installed on there until this is remediated first. So that's a good point. Thanks, Chris. So in summary, what I recommend is read and understand the manufacturer's warranty terms and conditions. Don't assume anything. Never assume that it starts when you think it's going to start, or that it will cover what you think it's going to cover. Let's make sure we understand it entirely. Select the right tools and products for the job. Pay attention to environmental factors. We talked about temperatures and moisture. We talked about this a lot, and this is a big, big deal. So make sure we understand that, and then we pay attention to them. And document your work. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And the manufacturers, we're here to help. We're here to work with the crews and make sure that people understand how to install our products. And at the end of the day, we want the same thing as everybody else involved in the project. We want a successful installation that will last a lifetime. And I know we'll go to questions, but also I'll put up on the screen here our contact info. So there's myself on top, and there's my colleague, James Weldon, that deals with architectural and spec writers. So feel free to shoot us any questions you want, and we'll be more than happy to answer.
Fantastic, Danick. Great and to the point, and awesome information. Thank you. Any questions from the group?
Nope.
Nothing coming in. Danick, do you want to talk a little bit about re-emulsification of adhesives? What are we looking for to avoid that? What is it?
So typically, this maybe I'll start a little further back than just re-emulsification. So if I look at an adhesive, we're going to have all adhesives will have workable moisture functionality, if you will. I'm probably not selecting my words correctly, but let's just say that an adhesive can work up to 95% relative humidity. And what that says is within 95% relative humidity, the product should not re-emulsify, so it should not come back into a semi or full wet form. So if we are pulling up flooring and we're seeing adhesive that has re-emulsified, typically that is a good sign of a moisture issue, whether it be moisture within the slab coming up, whether it be hydrostatic pressure, whether it be burst pipes, but there is water coming up or moisture coming up to the adhesive and re-emulsifying it.
Or the ambient relative humidity is high.
Yeah, that could be another contributing factor, the ambient relative humidity, where we're keeping the building too high in humidity, and that could cause failures too. Now, another thing to note is there are some adhesives out there. For example, I don't know, let's just think a resilient flooring adhesive that is epoxy based, let's say, and then it will call out on the adhesive that it is good to up to 100% RH. Well, that's great, but still bear in mind that even if the adhesive is good to that high level of humidity, it does not mean that the flooring that's going on top of it will be good to that high relative humidity. So if I'm looking at the entire flooring sandwich in that case, I've got to make sure that every single product I got to use the lowest common denominator, if you will, for relative humidity. So if the flooring is at 85% max, then doesn't matter if all the other products are at 100%, we're still going to get failure on the flooring. So that's where we need to make sure that we do proper moisture mitigation so that that moisture doesn't creep up and damage the actual top surface of the flooring.
We just went through an inspection where the LVT had been stuck down to slab on grade in a restaurant, and the adhesive was turning to like just mush, like completely broken down. And it turned out through an investigation that it was actually the janitorial service that came in immediately behind the installation crew who finished off that job. You know, typically restaurants are installed overnight. It happens very fast. Well, they cleaned the floor each night that week and eventually re-emulsified the adhesive. And looking at the adhesive, it had a cure time, which I think is very important to note. Every adhesive potentially has a different cure time. Yeah. When it actually goes hard and has you know finished the chemical reaction for the most part anyway. And the cure time on that particular product was 6 days. So they were mopping water and detergent onto the LVT. It was finding the adhesive down below and just turning it into liquid, back into a liquid form anyway.
Yeah, and typically on product data sheets, you'll see your cure time. You'll see also when it's ready for wet or intermittent wet exposure, when it's ready for cleaning or whatnot, and that's important to understand those metrics. And another good example, cementitious self-leveling underlayments. Well, the underlayment may say that it's walkable within 3 to 4 hours, which is great. And then it may also note that it's ready for for surfaces that are not affected by humidity, such as tile, after 4 hours. But you need to wait 24 hours if you're going to do any moisture sensitive flooring. And then it may also note that you need to wait 7 days for something that would be considered vehicular traffic. And in this case, we could think of scissor lifts, or we could think of pallet lifters and forklifts, or even if vehicular traffic was to happen on it, what is the repercussion of that? So those are data points to understand before we put traffic or maintenance back onto the flooring.
Okay, we have a comment from Bert Green. Bert, out there in Ontario, long time no see, Bert. pH testing is also required by manufacturers per their installation instructions. Any comment about that?
Yes, in cases where a product could be affected by high or low pH levels, pH testing would be required. Yes, I failed to include that. And that would fall into the same location of moisture testing.
All concrete is highly alkaline at the surface. You got a salt problem just sitting on the surface waiting for an adhesive to be trailed out, and the salts will just eat up the adhesive. They just turn it into mush. So be cognizant of alkalinity, and you test for that with litmus paper and pH testing kits, which are simple, cheap, and at least that's sort of an indicator. They'll tell you whether you've got a salt issue at the surface.
Yeah.
Any other questions out there before we let Danick go? I think you're off the hook, Danick.
Good.
Great job. You're wrapping it up for us for 2023.